OMG. So this morning I put on my workout outfit and I had all the intentions of going on a hike. It rained last night, so it was so nice. Didn't happen. And so now it is 4 o'clock and I still have my workout gear on, and I was never able to work out my body yet. So I thought, well, you know what? If I haven't been able to run my body, that maybe I can run my mouth and I'll get at least somewhat of a fix. So I think it was actually this weekend was my gray hairs happy birthday, 2 years of not dyeing my hair. So September of 2020 was when I decided not to color my hair anymore. And for anybody that's new, I did 2 highlights. I noticed that I was getting some streaks in up here, and so I kind of mimicked it with some highlights. And then I did a low light, which kind of makes this demarcation line blend in a little bit better. This is day-old hair. I always feel like it always represents a little bit more real, you know, it's not so fluffy. So I have been thinking about three thoughts really that are kind of have been swirling around now that I've had the 2 years to kind of look back and reflect. And I would say the first thing that I was thinking about was, you know, there's a lot of hard truths that I did not really want to accept, but kind of knew that they were true. And one being the reason why is because I could just, my body was telling me that it was the dye, and that if I would quit doing the dye, that my hair would grow back. And everything that I was reading and everybody that I was talking to, or, you know, there weren't that many people saying that. A lot of people were like, oh, it's not the dye, it's not the dye. Well, let me tell you, now that we are all in the midlife, and there's a lot of us that are in that same category of have been dyeing their hair for a really long time, you know, we're all having the thinning hair. And, you know, it for me, it really did come down to no hair or gray hair. This is kind of where my body was. And I was just like, I got to try it. And now, you know, 2 years in, it is. I mean, so you always hear about it, but I mean, I want you to see, dang it. This is all 2-year growth, especially like my little money streaks. Do you see how like this is all growth that was a bald spot? I mean, look at that. I would look at my hair and I could just see my scalp. And now I have so much more hair. And so I, you know, when I was younger, I would always get compliments on my hair. If you're somebody, you know, I just always had really nice, healthy hair. I didn't, you know, use a whole lot of product, and I just, you know, good genes to some degree. But I also just would, you know, I just would always get compliments. And then it got to the point where I was noticing that my hair just was like, I wasn't even happy with it. There was nothing that I could do that would make me happy with it. It was just, you know, a part of me wanted to cut it off, as part of me, you know, but it all really came down to the dye. It didn't matter. It really was the dye. And I know nobody wants to hear that. I know. And I have so many, I mean, my friends now, are kind of in that same, I would say, hamster wheel that a lot of, you know, you hear a lot of men, you know, that are balding or whatever, but a lot of women that I know, you know, it's everything else, you know, and maybe it is, maybe there are some thyroid issues, there's diet issues, there's all of that. Aging is real, all of that stuff. But, you know, putting a product on your scalp for 20 years is also going to have, you know, quite an influence on what happens to the hair follicle over time. And to disregard that is just being silly. So I feel like I definitely, looking at the 2 years, 100% have my hair back. As far as, yes, it's gray, but I mean, I get compliments all the time. The guy walking his dog, people at the grocery store. I mean, back to where it was when I had my natural darker hair. But I just would much rather have that thicker hair. And so, you know, I think it really does come down to, once you get past the point of like, you know, which kind of would roll into my second thought. You know, the first is being, you know, the hair growth is real, and I know nobody wants to hear about it. The second one, which I've done a video on it, nobody really cares. No one, I mean, anybody that's anybody doesn't really care that you have gray hair. I mean, they just don't. And it's funny too, because I don't know, you know, you kind of think, oh, you know, men aren't going to be attracted or something like that. There's like a whole thing that like people, I don't know. There's just a, like, it's all on the inside. So, you know, I know people that have the dark hair and they act like they're 90 years old. So it really is, I mean, yes, your outer appearance definitely, you know, I would say you want to be healthy and you want to be attractive, but I mean, coloring your hair, you know, I mean, I felt like it gets to a point where you just look like you're desperate to hold on to youth. I mean, there's just, yeah, we're looking older because we are older. Like there's nothing we can do. That train has already left the station. It's gone. And so if we're lucky, we get the gray hair. And so I feel like that's a battle that you internally have to deal with. But I got to the point where I just was so insecure about my hair being thin, not liking the color, you know, it just, that I feel so much better on this side that, I mean, I could care less about what people, if they like it or not. And if anything, it's, you know, me expressing a part of myself that's real. And if that, you know, repels people, then good, you know, then that's probably somebody that wasn't a very good match or an alignment to be, you know, in my circle of friends or whatever or whatnot, or somebody that I'm dating. So I feel like, yes, that nobody really does care. And then I would say the third thing that kind of flows into that nobody really cares, is that you get to the point where you don't care. I mean, you do care because it is hair, obviously, but once you get to that point where it's just not on your radar, I don't even really think about it. I mean, until like an occasionally maybe somebody, you know, that I haven't seen in a really long time makes a comment or something like that. But even that, I just don't, I'm so much happier. There's nothing that anybody could say as far as a comment to me that is going to make me feel as insecure as I felt like on week 3 of the roots coming out and having to use that spray shit and like, you know, just, you know, don't want to be windy because, you know, your hair is going to, it just like, that is just such a non-issue. There's just no mental energy whatsoever. And it is amazing how much you can fill that with other stuff, you know, like, you know, creating more things. I think that's the, you know, going back to that thing, the third thought was it is like a Pandora's box. Once you realize that, you know, I know it's silly, but it's hair, and there is a societal pressure for women to, you know, to do this color. And once you just kind of break that, you kind of, you know, you're kind of like, well, what else can I do? Well, let's try this. Well, you know, let's try this. Let's try that. Like, let's have fun with this, you know, because we know we're halfway through if we're lucky. And so what else is there? You know, maybe make a YouTube channel or try that art project, or I don't know, pick up a hobby. I don't know. It just, there's something that is so freeing about and liberating that not only, you know, I think that's what's so unique about it, is because that you're seeing it on the outside, but you're also feeling it on the inside. You know, I keep saying that it's so much more than hair, and I think everybody would agree with that. And it really is so much more than hair, but you just won't know until you get started. And I know that it's so scary, but once you're 2 years in, and I'm like, I don't know, you just laugh at the things that held you captive. You know, it goes back to that whole, you know, the elephant in the circus, and what they do is when the elephants are babies, they tie them onto a little pole, and they just tie it, the little string, not a string, but like a rope around their neck, and then they just stake it into the ground. And so when the elephant is young, they're pulling it and pulling it and pulling it, and they can't, you know, pull the stake out, but then they quit trying. And so they don't even realize that when they get older, they could just pop it out like a toothpick. So I think that, you know, there's an element of that happens once you kind of break through that. You're kind of like, oh shit, that wasn't too bad. And I feel really good. Like, what else am I doing? What else am I doing? And that's, you know, going back to the peeling the layers off of this midlife, you know, what things were mine, what things aren't mine, you know, what things are going to suit me and my future generations, what things aren't going to, you know, and what direction do we want to try to steer this? Because, you know, I've said this in a couple other videos, we never arrive. You know, we keep thinking that we're like on, you know, the highest of the mountain, but there's always another mountain to climb. There's just it's a never ending thing. It's like, you know, going back to my whole simulation, it's like you just break through to another level. Okay, now you got more shit, you got some better problems to deal with. So, you know, that's the whole thing, that we're always going to have problems. It's good to have problems. You know, that's what gives us contrast, so that we can know whether we're moving forward or backwards. So you just want good problems. That's the difference. So good problems. So anyway, I feel a little bit better. You know, I've run my mouth. Feel like I got a little bit of workout in the car, kind of like a hot workout, mouth workout. Oh geez, that sounded really bad. So anyway, on that note, I'm going to leave you. You guys have a great rest of your week, and